Welcome to CUSAcast, where we interview some of the most influential people in tourism from around the world. My name is Graeme Watson, and I'm the founder of CUSA Global. The word CUSA means a new dawn, and in 2023, we want to find out just how our guests are working towards that new dawn. Join us and subscribe to future episodes as we hope to inspire you with stories of strength and resilience in the tourism industry. Hello everyone and welcome back to CUSAcast. My guest today is Martina Barth, who is the Group Sales Manager for the Liz McGrath Collection, a fantastic collection of hotels, beautiful hotels in the Western Cape region. Martina is also one of the membership managers of IGLTA. Welcome Martina, thanks for being a guest on the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
No problem at all. It's a great pleasure to have you. We've known each other for many years. I think I first met you at the townhouse. I think you did a site inspection for a FAM group I was hosting. That must have been close to 10 years ago now. So it's great to be having to, in our different lives that we've had to face after COVID, to be able to interview you on CUSAcast and get to know a bit more about you. So if you could just let the listeners know, how did you come to get into tourism?
I think, like all good things, they sometimes happen by accident. I studied marketing at UCT and my plan was to go into advertising. But when I graduated, advertising jobs just didn't happen just like that. And I had waitressed while I was studying, and suddenly a assistant restaurant manager position became available at the V&A Hotel. And I thought, well, let me grab this in the interim while I am waiting to get my wonderful advertising job. And that's how it started. And I've never looked back. The V&A was an amazing hotel to start. I spent quite a couple of years there, but I realized very quickly that although I'd worked my way up to assistant F&B manager, the sales and marketing people were having far too much fun. So,
well, that's what it looked like. Yeah,
it always looked like that. Yeah. And I'm very grateful. My then general manager, Richard Johnston, when he left, he took me with him to work in the sales and marketing team of Villa Via, which then became the Radisson, as it is known today, in the waterfront.
Cool. It's a lovely hotel. It's to start your journey off in. And so how long were you there for?
I think just over 5 years.
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah.
And then did you move straight to the Vineyard Vineyard
No,
group?
I didn't. No, I was PR and promotions manager for IGLTA Jewelers. And that really got me very entrenched within the tourism industry. And because I dealt with all the tour operators, which, then started attending all of the shows, which was really amazing. And then from there, I went on to be the PR promotions manager at the Western, which was Arabella Sheraton in those days. So that was also under Rick Lander, which was also brilliant. That was wonderful. And then after that, pretty much after that, moved on to the Vineyard then, yes.
Oh, great. And then after the Vineyard, you are now with a beautiful group of properties at Liz McGrath. So tell us just a bit more about that.
Yeah, it's really it's an amazing company to work for. Wonderful passion, wonderful drive. We privately owned 3 boutique 5-star properties, all guided still very much by the passion and energy that our founder, Liz McGrath, really brought to the collection. And it's so proud. I'm so proud to be able to represent such amazing hotels, all within their own beautiful destinations, the Cellars in Constantia, then the Marine in Hermanus. I was there yesterday, which was really lovely. And then the Plettenberg, the really iconic Plettenberg as well.
Yes. Yeah, luckily I've had the fantastic fortune to visit all three in my years in the industry, and love them all. It's very much the same theme throughout, as I'm sure you can agree to. It's You can definitely tell it's the same collection, and what a wonderful combination of hotels to put one guest through, in their journey.
Exactly.
Cape Town, up in the beautiful Cape Town winelands area. I mean, maybe just tell the audience who maybe don't know that there is a wine region sort of on Cape Town's doorstep. You don't need to go into the Franschhoeks and the Stellenbosch and the Pals. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. And I just want to go back a step. As you said, this beautiful golden thread of heart and heritage, hospitality that goes right throughout the properties, but each are quite unique in their settings. But Constantia, absolutely. I mean, it's the oldest wine region in the Southern Hemisphere. So,
Yeah.
and yet often when we think of South Africa's wine valleys, we think of Stellenbosch, we think of Franschhoek, but here it's a suburb of Cape Town. So you really have the beauty of being able to combine both. And we're only 15 minutes from the waterfront. And we definitely have found that people are spending more time at the hotel rather than packing and unpacking and spending 2 nights here, 1 night here. They really are we're having much longer stays than we did in the past. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so it can be a hard sell. Sometimes, the waterfront tends to be the first place of contact for Cape Town, but people are realizing that that's not the case, and it is changing, which is wonderful. So we've seen
Yeah, I
a
mean,
great move.
yeah, I think it's one of those properties that when you get there, you must be so grateful that you chose that, or that your travel advisor put that in the itinerary. It's really is a lovely, tranquil place, and particularly for trips down to the peninsula, you do cut out that Cape Town traffic in the morning, and yeah, it's just a lovely tranquil place to base
Yes.
yourself. The Sellers Hohenhort, or Hohenort, and then down to Hermanus, which I think most people know during the whale season. It's great views from the hotel, and then the Plettenberg as well, overlooking that beautiful bay. What a wonderful combination. So you're also the membership manager of IGLTA. So that's the International Gay and Lesbian Travel Association, Tourism Association.
Yes, we are. We have changed the name. We don't call ourselves, that's not our definition anymore, but we're the leading network of LGBTQ plus welcoming tourism businesses. That is our
Okay.
definition as such. But we really focus on creating welcoming and safe spaces for the LGBTQ plus tourism community to be able to travel worldwide. And we have a wonderful network of tour operators, hotels, event managers within 80 different countries now. We're
Hmm.
celebrating our 40th anniversary this year. It launched in 1983, if you can believe that or not. So that's
Gee.
quite an achievement, yes.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't then we weren't in 80 countries then, that's for sure. But that's the amazing thing, how it has evolved. In fact, John Tanzella, our CEO, who I do hope you are going to have a podcast with at some stage, because he's just a fountain of information and just an amazing person. And he and Loanne, our vice president of communications, next week go to India for the first
Hmm.
time and are holding a symposium in India, which is a first for India. So
Wow.
it really is amazing how, it's not about staying out of countries where perhaps the laws are not quite as liberal. It's going into those countries and supporting the communities as well.
Hmm.
And the LGBTQ plus travelers are amongst the most adventurous out of all segments. So it's not that we will stay away from countries like that. We just want to make sure that we are creating warm and welcoming and safe travels.
Yeah, I mean, it's great that that there is that association, because I'm sure there are many communities that, all you want to do is feel included, and when you walk into a property and not feel different in any way. And the way, I mean, what I never realized was just little things like his and hers towels, or people call them his and hers sinks in the bathroom. And it's kind of, it almost seems obvious now that it's been pointed out to me that why do you just assume that everybody staying in the room is a male and a female together? And it's just
Absolutely.
it's little things like that you just hear them as you're growing up, and it's go to the shop and get some his and hers towels, is what you've always known them as. But and then as you think about it more, it's just like, well, yeah, that's not always going to be the case. So I presume in the way the IGLTA is the one of the biggest sort of motivations for them is to teach hoteliers, teach staff how to just make sure that the language, even the web, the social media, everything like that uses inclusive language. And I would imagine it's not just focused on the one segment of the population of the IGLTA community, but there are so many individual groups in the world that should feel included.
That's it.
So
Well,
yeah.
yes, as you say, and I think what you're meaning is sort of, it's not gay or lesbian. It's not just gay or lesbian. There are many different ways that people identify. Non-binary, of course, has become a very important segment as well, and trans as well. I mean, there is, IGLTA doesn't do the training. We don't train as such. We have a recommended list of trainers that we recommend for this. We have just launched or are in the process of launching, maybe this is a soft launch in a way, a new division called IGLTA Accredited, which will start off with hotels, and it will be it's separate from the membership. It will be where hotels will have the opportunity to go through a vetted system, and they will then come out of it with an IGLTA accredited stamp, which they can then share on their profiles and social media. And that goes very much into exactly what you're saying, that they have undergone the training. They are showing examples of marketing material within their normal marketing offering. And just to show that they're not pinkwashing, number one. I think that's something that we really don't want the companies to do. And the training is very important because there are so many nuances. And, a lot of property owners say, but we welcome everyone. And of course we do. I mean, South Africa, for example, it's against the law. It's unconstitutional not to welcome everyone. But it's not about being allowed to. It's being welcomed by everyone, whether it's the person at reception, whether it's housekeeping staff. And, we have many different cultures within each different countries that it does require a certain amount of training so that the guests or that the staff understand. You can't just ask a little boy running around, where's your daddy? Where's your mommy? They're just little things that one should be a little bit more sensitive about. And it's not because they're meaning to do it. It's not malice. They just don't know. We're learning all the time. I think with the younger generations, they see gender, they see individuals as individuals, not putting them into categories and into groups. And we're learning all the time. And we just need to make sure that we try and create the most welcoming space for everyone, that everyone is entitled to travel as they are and be welcomed as they are.
Yeah, 100%. I always look at flags that are up outside hotels, and like, where's the rainbow flag? They've got all the country flags. Why don't they just put a flag showing what groups of people they accept and welcome as well? So that's, I mean, that's it's stuff like that. And as you say, the child running around, don't assume that they have the. I mean, I don't even know if traditional's the right sense of the word when it comes to mother and father, but it's yeah,
Exactly.
don't think don't make assumptions, as I think is what the core of all training should be.
Absolutely.
Don't it's such a lovely gesture to do when it comes to a welcome letter, but as you know, it's Mr. and Mrs. Don't put dear Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Don't assume that it's if they've booked a king bed that it's Mr. and Mrs. So there are so
Absolutely.
many. Yeah, there's just, it opened my eyes a lot, particularly talking to two members of the IGLTA. As you know, during lockdown, I was quite active on the app Clubhouse, and I got to meet Ewan on there as well.
Ewan's
Who,
amazing. I
yeah,
mean,
who
as
was
a
the
yeah, I mean his when he talks about the marketing and the media aspects, he really is just he knows so much, and he's such a fundi when it comes to that.
yeah.
You can really learn a lot from him.
Yeah, but I also think, for people who are skeptical and, the naysayers, it's not just about members of the LGBTQ plus community. It's every culture. It's everything. And for the, as I say, the naysayers who like, well, why must there be so much focus on one segment of the population? But it's not about that. It's it's the every segment of the population who feels undermined in any way has the right, just as much as the LGBTQ plus community has, to stand up and be vocal about what they feel is right. So if another community
Exactly.
says, well, don't hog the spotlight or something, whatever, then you
Yes.
say, well, then you get up and get the spotlight for yourself. It's
There's enough light for all of us.
yeah, yeah, and the hospitality industry, that word in itself, hospitable, it should teach everybody that that's exactly what it means. Be hospitable to everybody, and yeah, I mean, Africa is a challenge, as I'm sure you know. How is there? I mean, what do you do when there are actual laws against um, things like that? I mean, how can you? That must be
We
really really
are
tough.
yes, we are not represented currently in many of the African countries, unfortunately, and that is something we are working on. We are trying to get more members in different African regions. We do have one of our staff members in Morocco, which is wonderful, and it's lovely to learn, how even though it's in law, but it really isn't enforced anymore,
Mm.
and so you are able to really travel, even Saudi Arabia for that matter. You are definitely able to travel. You are respectful of the different laws and cultures, but as a gay couple or as a lesbian couple, you are most certainly able to travel to these countries. And then, we do have operators in some of these that can assist you to make sure that you have a, a, a safe and welcoming journey along the
Yeah,
way.
yeah. I think the accreditation is good, and I think for anyone listening who wants to find out a bit more about making sure that they do travel in safe spaces, it's IGLTA
Dot
org.
org. Dot
Yeah,
org. Yes.
yeah, IGLTA.org, and all the information is there. And then for anyone, I think a lot of our listeners are going to be in Africa, South Africa in particular. Martina, your email is Martina, Martina at IGLTA.org.
Martina.Barth at
Okay.
IGLTA.org.
Okay, perfect. Well, I'll put all those emails and contact details in the description so everyone can see.
Great.
Um, Yeah. So what, I mean, getting back to the last 3 years, I think most of us
Forgotten
want
those.
to, yeah, well, but I
Wipe
mean,
them from my memory.
yeah, I'm learning so much from, I think you're my eighth or ninth interview now. And, everybody in the tourism industry, we keep going on about the camaraderie, the spirit of
Mm.
everyone trying to help each other. And, even competitors are swinging
Did we
leads
need a
to.
pandemic to show us this?
Yes. Well, that's right. That's why I think, being a half glass full kind of person
As am
99%
I.
of the
Yes.
time.
Yes.
Yes. Sometimes it's hard, but you just have to focus on the positive. And I think that, after having been through horrific horrific things over the last 3 years, it's certainly time to focus on the positive, what came out of it, and what you learned. And it's certainly in my particular situation, I think it sent me on a path of something that I was destined for anyway. I just needed that push,
That push.
and
Mm.
I think a lot of people are finding out far more strengths that they didn't know they had than weaknesses they didn't know they had. And I think that that's a good thing. I think a lot of people can look back on the ramifications of anything, that happened, not even if they were directly affected by the loss of a loved one or the loss of a job. They may have been secondary affected by something that happened to someone else. And it's a lot of, I think, a lot of good can come out of it. I think we are very, very near the point now where we can look back and say, the pandemic is over. I know
Mm.
there's still travel restrictions and people are still getting ill, but I mean, touch wood. I mean, it's
People
this
got
time
ill
last year.
before. People, I mean, what did they say? The stats were how many people actually die from flu every year, which we didn't realize, I think,
Yeah,
until this, but it's over. It's over.
yeah.
It has
Yeah, I
to
mean,
be over.
it's that's the thing. And that's the whole point of the podcast now in January, figuring out what people have learned over the last 3 years and how they are going forward. So
Mm.
for you, I mean, what has the last 3 years taught you about the tourism industry in particular? What do you think you've learned in terms of the people, um, and the industry in total? I mean, it's even when it comes to things like cancellation policies and deposits and stuff like that. What do you think the industry has learned?
Yeah, I think, we've had to take a long, hard look at our policies and become more flexible. I think we've learned to have a two-way dialogue again, because I think that had all but broken down. I think,
Mm,
suppliers, buyers, we were two separate silos, and that sort of communication had really fallen away. We'd become emails back and forth.
mm,
And
mm,
for me, I think the biggest thing is that it got us all talking again. It got us all sitting around a virtual table, if that, all these webinars that we had, but we were having real conversations and looking at ways of tackling the future together and how we can do that. And I think it's brought us far closer together, as an
mm,
industry, as competitors, and I think maybe we needed that. We certainly didn't need a pandemic to show us that, but somehow that's, I always, my glass is also always half full, and something good had to have come out of it. And if it was that, then so be it. And also the fact that virtual is a possibility. You know,
mm,
um, I remember And Beyond was the first company that I knew that, when Annika went on maternity leave, she was able to work remotely after that. It was like, oh,
mm,
how visionary,
mhm.
how
Yeah.
absolutely visionary, and I just think it's wonderful to be able to have the opportunity for those people that want to work virtually, and they're able to do so, or work remotely are able to do so. And also that, we don't have to wait until we do a trip to the UK or somewhere to actually have a face-to-face conversation, be it on a screen, but it's still much more personal than an email.
Or a phone call, yeah.
Or a phone call.
No, I mean, absolutely. So, but I think, the whole landscape, I think that the workforce is going to be a happier, healthier workforce. I did a poll on LinkedIn a few days ago, and I said, actually, it ended today. I must check the results. How many sick days have bosses noticed since if somebody can work from home, do they call in sick? The answer,
exactly.
The answer so you're getting more productivity, because no one's going to say, what I always found, if you were feeling a bit sick during, especially in cities where you had to take public transport, like London or New York or something, it was the journey into work and the journey back home that you couldn't face because you were feeling so ill. You were able to still sort of sit up with your laptop and work and function and maybe even take phone calls. But the thought of the journey and, and the freezing cold or something that's why people called in sick. And I could be wrong, but I think that's certainly, so I think the productivity, and I think a lot more people who were skeptical about it at first realized, look, we have to do this. We locked down for, I don't know how long it was in South Africa that there was just nobody in any offices. It was months, wasn't it? 6 months, maybe longer.
Yeah,
you couldn't.
Yeah, we opened the hotels again, all of them, beginning of September. So 1st of September. Months. Yeah, and that was crazy. I mean, nearly every month we thought we were opening, so we were ready.
Yeah. I remember. Yeah, I remember hotel chains or lodge chains getting very annoyed if we were canceling, in March, April, if we were canceling in July. It's like, well, why are you canceling? It's going to be fine by then, and little did people know that we were at the start of a 2-year journey, 3-year journey nearly.
Oh,
and,
gosh.
And that's why I think the friendliness, I think everyone's been through so much that I don't think that the nasty emails are as bad as they used to be, or that kind of thing. I think everyone's just been through so much that it's just like, oh, come on, give me a break. We've all been through so much. Let's just talk to each other a bit nicer.
Some heart, some heart has come back into the industry.
Yeah. Well, not just this, and this is the industry that we're in, but I'm sure many other industries feel the same. It's it's the fact that we're all survived. We survived, and we're still here. I think there's a lot of respect amongst those that were able to come through it, and a lot of people are reaching out and helping. And the guides have such a terrible time. They are the kind of the core of tourism, and I think we all need to do our best to try and get them on as many tours and trips and game drives or whatever as we can, because they were particularly tough.
Very true.
And then a question I always like asking, not so much what did you learn about the industry, but what did you learn about yourself in the last 3 years?
I learned that I really am an optimist. I always saw, I was always very positive that this would be over quite quickly. And I think that somehow kept me going. But I also realized that I needed the people around me, the people close to me were very important. And I needed that human connection. I think I was on every webinar that was possible.
Yes.
I really was very hungry for that connection, that information to make sure that everything was going to be all right. And I have to be honest, I don't think I've ever worked harder in my entire life than I did during COVID.
A lot of people have said that. Yeah.
It really is such. And I was one of the fortunate ones who I'm very grateful to the collection that I had, the job that I did. and that I was able to do all of these virtual platforms. I mean, Our Africa that popped up, I think I did nearly 300 meetings in the first Our Africa, whether it was 2 o'clock in
Yeah.
the morning or whenever it was, I grabbed every opportunity that was possible. But just, yeah, that we can do this, that we can get through this, I think was one of the biggest learnings for me, and how you can work with competitors, and that we are
Mm.
all in the same industry, and that we have value, that we offer something to the industry. I think that was very evident.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for me, it's as you say, the hearts come back in,
Mm.
and there is, I mean, even with my podcast, I mean, the amount of yeses that I've got, from some of the most wonderful people that I have interviewed and still to interview. It's very humbling for me, and I think, for me, the humility is what I learned about myself. Just it's as I say that the most amount of any one particular food that I've eaten in the last 3 years is humble pie, because it's
Mm.
you really just, there's no room for ego. Every single person was was a victim of
That's it.
the
We were
of
all
what
affected.
happened. Yeah,
We were all
there's not one
affected.
person. Yeah, not one person that can say that they were unscathed, and
Exactly.
it's yeah,
And we
it's good.
realized how we can do with less. I think that's,
Yeah,
you don't have to go out for dinner every night. You don't have to go shopping and do this all the time. You could really do and still have a meaningful life with so much less.
yeah, yeah. I think it's yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think is there's as we said before, there's just so much good that's come out of it. So when you were at home for as long as we were, for many months, or was there any one particular uh, sort of productivity tool that helped you get through, that you've carried on using, or were you using anything before? A lot of people have spoken about their favorite apps that they use, or are you a bit old school? Do you like the pen and paper?
I I was old school. I mean, I still used to always have a paper diary,
Yeah,
believe it or not. And of course that is all gone digital now. I mean, I can't even imagine carrying a paper diary around anymore. Can't
yeah,
imagine it. But yet I was really digging my heels, and that I wasn't going to get rid of it. That right at the beginning of COVID went. And I love the virtual platforms, Zoom, Teams, Google Meet, whatever it is. I really love having a meeting, being able to see someone's face.
mm,
I think it is so much nicer than an email.
yeah,
And I know that we don't want to do webinars anymore, but there is definitely still a place for it. And so it's wonderful that these platforms have continued. And so that's probably my biggest sort of productivity tool is being able to have meetings like this virtually.
yeah.
Um, I don't have to fly up to Joburg every second month because I have to have my meetings face to face. When we have those face to face meetings, then we're able to talk about different things,
Mm.
but it doesn't stop your interaction with the clients.
Yeah, you're on the SATSA board, aren't you, as well? And I
Yeah, I'm the
remember
Western Cape chair. Yes.
Western Cape chapter chair. Busy lady you are. And yeah, I was on the board. I don't think we were ever on the board at the same time. I think I was kind of finished.
Very
Yeah, I
briefly,
think
yes.
maybe a few weeks crossover, but it's the same thing. Those SATSA meetings, having to wake up at 3, 4 in the morning, catch a flight. Everybody has a meeting for the day, and then fly back across the country, sometimes 2 hours, and get home at like 10 o'clock at night. And and then the pandemic kind of made people realize that you can accomplish just as much, and you can get so much work done between 6 o'clock in the morning and 10 o'clock in the morning, because you're not traveling, and so you're getting almost 8 hours back of your day.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
no, it makes a big difference.
I think there are a lot of. I mean, I would hate to be I really would. I maybe I should try and find a. I mean, I had Jackie Reynolds on the other day, who's an event planner, but she was saying the industry's going great guns in terms of events. But I think for conferences, for day conferences where people used to fly in from everywhere, I think that might take a bit. That might change a bit, I think, because people aren't necessarily going to be using those rooms for day conferences and flying people in.
Although you say that, I mean, especially at the cellars, our small meeting rooms that we have are exceptionally busy.
That's interesting.
Yes. So I think there's certainly a space for it. It's different, but I think it's maybe taking away a little bit from the emails. This impersonal people sitting where they used to sit in separate offices but email each other. Office next door to each other and email each other.
Or next door to the person. I remember getting emails saying, "Dear Graeme, I hope you are well." And I sort of stood up and turned around and said, "Hello, you can see that I'm
fine.
Well. I'm sitting 3 meters away from you." And it's the impersonal. The emails. I'm definitely a phone kind of person, but
Me too.
A lot of people are quite busy. They if it's information that you want to give them, they are quite happy with the email because they'll read it on their own time or on the way home. But I'm finding also that you have to book a phone call appointment with someone, and whereas before you would just phone somebody up. Now you got to say,
"Can I phone you available?" Yes, are you available?
Can I phone you at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning?
And
then put it in the calendar. It's very rare that you now get a phone call that just pops up and somebody wants an hour-long chat because it's
true. That's the same as somebody knocking on the door unannounced, like, oh.
No, the whole world is. The whole world is different, and I think that I think it's for the good. I think it's, like I say, I think people are now getting far more family times with their loved ones, and I think what the worst part of the pandemic was the loved ones leaving us because of the sickness, and realizing just how fragile and important life is, and then wanting that time. So. And remote working and flexible hours and all that kind of stuff, I think is going to be a great thing going forward, because that's what people want now.
And I hope we remember that. I think humanity, we forget so quickly. Fortunately or unfortunately, but I do hope that we remember to take the time for ourselves, take the time to make time for our friends, our loved ones, the people that really matter to us, that we don't forget how fragile life is.
I
think there have to be lessons that are carried forward.
I think there will be, and as the generation, the younger generation, become the bosses in the future, I think that will definitely carry through, because certainly people in their 20s and 30s who in 10, 20 years time will become the managers and the bosses, they will roll out what they've expected, in life, which is I mean, I've worked in situations where you literally have to clock in with your fingerprint and clock out with your fingerprint, and I think those days are, because if there's any boss listening to this right now, I can guarantee you that just because someone's sitting in an office and behind their desk for 8 hours does not mean they are working for 8 hours. So
it doesn't mean you have their attention.
So to say that you've got to come into an office to be more productive, no, I really don't think that that's the case at all. All they have to do is look around, and it's sometimes pretty obvious to see that you can get maybe even more productivity at home, because people are in their comfort zone. They, Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. I have spoken to a lot of very senior managers about it, and I think the more flexible people are, the better talent they're going to get as well.
True.
Because the true talent, the real good talent that any company wants to get, will come with their own terms as well.
Mm.
And I think
Look,
those
hotel
terms will be
wise, unfortunately, there
of
is no,
course, yeah.
we can't work remotely. I mean, yes, as salespeople we can, but that's, obviously everybody else has to come
Oh,
to
look, I
work.
mean, I'm talking from a position of jobs where you can. I mean, there might be people
Yeah,
listening and saying, "Well, I can't, taxi drivers or something. You can't
yeah,
work from
yeah.
home." But
Room service
they
doesn't work virtually.
yeah, room service. That well, you could get a little robot coming through. Who knows? Yeah, but
But that's been a challenge. That in itself was also a challenge. Just, I mean, a challenge and a blessing actually, because of COVID, we were able to really acquire some amazing staff that perhaps wouldn't have left the
yeah,
hotels where they had been working. So we were very fortunate at the collection that we really got some top notch staff, and so that was really great. You know, so there is a blessing in that still. there is a
yeah. No,
silver
there
lining.
is. There is. And would you if I mean do you I mean does the IGLTA work with young sort of entrepreneurs coming through at all? Is there a program that guides and helps those who are trying to get into the industry at all?
It is something we are looking at. We definitely also within the sort of staff complement, we do have a range of ages, and we focus quite a lot on the youth as well. We don't have a youth chapter as such. We don't have that, but we are looking at it's one of the pillars. We just had a strategy session in Puerto Rico, of all places. That was such a
Mhm.
amazing thing to be there.
Yeah,
Our
that's
40th,
one conference that you don't want to do remotely. you
that's
you
it.
want to go to the conference.
Exactly. Our annual convention this year is in October, 4 to 9 October, is going to be in San Juan, Puerto Rico. And we were able to go and do some pre-planning there 2 weeks ago now. And that's one of part of the strategy was to really try and develop the youth more. So, I
Mm.
think it comes back to, tourism, and is it really the sexy industry? When school leavers come in, are they really looking to go into the tourism industry? But I think that's also changing because it is an amazing and dynamic industry. And we, with SATSA in particular, Lindsay Gabo has a wonderful student outreach program that we encourage and assist her with wherever possible, to really try, just with different members of SATSA, to try and let them understand how wonderful the tourism industry is.
Mm.
So, and I mean, we at least have tourism as a subject, but a lot of countries don't.
Yeah.
So how do they even get in? I was speaking to some agents from the UK yesterday, and it's just not an industry that they really know about until afterwards, which is such a
Mm.
pity, and we need to change that.
Yeah, a lot of what's come through the interviews so far, the podcast has been the assistance of the small to medium enterprises, and what the more established businesses can do to give them a foot up the ladder. So it seems to be a very common thread, and I'm glad to hear it. So, I mean, here's an interesting question for you. If you were to have a young startup come through to you and say they want to have the world's most LGBTQ plus friendly hotel in the world, what would your steps and advice be to them? What should they do?
First and foremost, I would say training. It needs to start with your management, but taken right down to every single staff member. And Michael Gladwin has a company here in Cape Town called All Stay, and he does wonderful training. Obviously, their companies all over the world, but to do this, to do training right from the start, from the top right down, is without a doubt the first thing to do, so that the intent is there to make sure that that everybody understands the nuances. And then you need to look at your marketing material. That would be the second step, and maybe it can be done together in parallel, because people need to, and this doesn't just go for the LGBT community, this really goes for any community. At the end of the day, you want to recognize yourself in the marketing material, in the on the website. You want to see people that look like you. And if not, then you immediately assume, well, they don't understand you, they don't get you. So it is really important to get the marketing material right. That would be the second step. And you do have a lot of companies that June in particular, sort of International Pride Month, where companies suddenly put pink or rainbow flags all over their logos, and for the month of June it's there, but on the last day of June they're ready to hit the button back to their old logo again. And that just doesn't fly. That just doesn't work. It can't be just 1 month out of the year that you support a community. It has to be all year round. All year round. There's so many amazing media experts, marketing experts like Ewan that you can reach out to, and there are many professionals who can assist you with this. And don't assume that the gay or lesbian person on your staff is the right person to do this for you, because that's not true. That's not the case.
Don't stereotype. Don't
stereotype and just assume that they'll be able to be the ones that can assist you with that, because that's not correct. They are professionals who are there to assist you with this.
I mean, there's it's a very interesting and divisive topic. I mean, I'm sure you'll agree. There's a lot of thought on both sides. We've in England or in the UK, there's certainly a lot of talk about it now, and about the inclusivity, and particularly with the trans community. And it is tough, when it comes to unisex bathrooms and people not feeling comfortable, and because it's always in every aspect of life, I think it's always the few that ruin it for the many. And just because someone can't behave in a whatever, I mean, it's going to take a while, but I think that with organizations such as the IGLTA, it's a fantastic bastion for members of the community to be aware and understand that there are people who are championing the cause as well, and particularly in the hospitality.
So much of this ugly behavior also actually stems from fear of the unknown. But rather than trying to find out and educate yourself, it turns into this ugly emotion, which is terrible. And we're all learning all the time. And to just let everybody feel heard and seen and welcomed. We all have the right to have our space on this earth.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think there's 8 billion individuals on the planet, and who is any one other individual to try and tell another individual how they need to live their life? Exactly. That's always bemused me. So that's true. always good, especially how they live their life behind a closed door. That's the part that always amuses me. Is just like, what does one person care about what someone does in the privacy of their own home or bedroom? It's ridiculous.
But I think the interesting thing is, and it's, while I was growing up, it was still very much that behind closed doors in my case anyway. And but it's not like that any longer. And people don't want to live behind closed doors. People want to live in the world. And I think that has been where people have started to feel uncomfortable. but it may be uncomfortable, but it's still learning and accepting and just becoming part of the world. And unfortunately, a lot of people with change, they reject it, but they can't. It's just not right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why anybody would even try and argue the fact that love is love, and every single human being on the planet is entitled to love who they want to love, and who is some stranger to think otherwise of them. So
exactly,
it's let's hope that members of the community and allies of the community, in all communities, not just the LGBTQ, but in any marginalized community, whether it be, you look at some things that are happening in Asia with marginalized. It's anyway. This is another conversation for a longer conversation for another time. Yeah, so we'll have to. I just said as well to another guest I had on. I said we'll talk about this at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yes.
Yeah, or 2 in the morning over a braai or a boma fire under the stars at some game lodge. It's we'll solve all the world's problems there.
That sounds good. Yeah. Oh, I like this idea. But the fact that we're having these conversations is already so important, and the fact that this podcast, for example, is going to go out and people are going to listen to it, and if it just opens one person's mind to being more accepting and tolerant, then we've already achieved a lot. And when you have John Tanzella on or Loanne, they'll be able to still give you so much more information. But IGLTA really does amazing work in all of these countries, and the convention, it's going to be very exciting. It's going to be the biggest convention yet, hoping to have 1,000 delegates. That's what we're aiming for. So it will be the biggest convention ever for IGLTA. And it's
I really exciting. Hope I can get to be there. Puerto Rico, October. I'll put it in the calendar, the digital calendar, not the written calendar.
Exactly. I can't believe I changed to the digital, because I really never thought I would do that. But no.
Yeah, no, I just for me, I've just been doing it for years. So yeah, the good old paper diary is, because I always think, what happens if you lose it? But then what happens if you lose your password, I suppose? Yeah. So
true.
Yeah, well, look, Martina, thanks so much for a great conversation, and please feel free to let anybody else who feels that they might benefit from being on the podcast to discuss any issues that they are championing, to please feel free to reach out to me. Would be awesome. And
absolutely.
I'm going to invite Lindy on, and we'll hopefully have her on soon to discuss her role in her company.
Wonderful.
So
wonderful.
Yeah, and so thanks again.
Pleasure. And please put my email address, my collection email address on as well, martina@LizMcGrathCollection.com.
Absolutely. All those email addresses will be there. And then I would highly encourage anybody in the Cape Town area, the Western Cape area, to reach out to Martina. If you work in tourism, go and see the properties. They are stunning, and will certainly enhance any guest's journey through Southern Africa. It's a great place to visit, and as you say, the circuit's it's wonderful too. So Martina, thanks again, and I will hopefully see you in a few weeks. You know how quickly the years go, in London or wherever in the UK or in South Africa.
Wonderful.
Or wherever.
Thank you so much for this opportunity as well. I think we're going to have a part 2 and part 3 and part 4.
Oh no, absolutely. And we can invite more people on. The thing about what I've learned is that ideas start and then they grow, and let's just hope
and
the podcast
evolve.
just continues to evolve, and we gain a lot of listenership. And I think with the reach of the internet and the IGLTA and everything, I'm sure we'll get a lot of people and listeners who can benefit from the discussions that we have.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Graeme.
Thanks, Martina. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning into KuzaCast, where we explore the world of tourism with leaders from all corners of the globe.
Join me, Graeme Watson, for future episodes as we dive into the latest trends and insights from the industry. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a rating, and we'll see you next time on CUSAcast.